Today's YouTube video is going to be the Chicago Bulls versus the Portland Trail Blazers. Michael Jordan versus Clyde. Woo! All right, feeling good today. Now, this is a YouTube video that I've been wanting to make for a very, very long time. Two of the world's best premier basketball players of the 1980s and the 1990s. Who is the best player? And we arguably could agree that in the city of Chicago, there is the Chicago Bears football team. There is the baseball team of the Chicago White Sox, the Chicago Cubs. And then there is a name that is forever present in the city of Chicago. Michael Jordan. Woo! The greatest basketball player of all times. 6 NBA championships. 2 three-peats. Undefeated in the NBA Finals. Has never lost an NBA Finals. Has never played in a Game 7. The only man that is super cool and super badass to have 2 statues. Most famous people, they give 1 statue. Michael Jordan gets 2 statues. One in New York City, Madison Square Garden, and he's never played for the New York Knicks. And one in Chicago. The legendary great Michael Jordan. The only man to get drafted in the 1985 NBA draft. Of course, he gets drafted and picked over Sam Bowie gets picked at number 1. Clyde Drexel gets picked over Michael Jordan. And nobody really thinks about what his future is going to hold in that NBA draft. And he played at North Carolina for like 2 to 3 years. And played against a college basketball player that also went into the NBA draft a year before him. His arch rival, Patrick Ewing. And you see, Michael Jordan has a lot of arch nemesis in professional basketball. I mean, if you're that great of a player, you got Isaiah Thomas, that was an arch nemesis. There's Patrick Ewing in the New York Knicks, the Detroit Pistons, the bad boy Pistons. You know, the Isaiah Thomas who was player hating on Michael Jordan in his prime. So he made a book called The Jordan Rules, trying to control what Michael Jordan can do in a basketball game and can't do in a basketball game. That's how legendary-esque Michael Jordan was. I mean, seriously, he was the man. There was nobody like Michael Jordan, and there's nobody like him today. Yeah, you argue there's Chris Paul, there's Stephen Curry, there's Kobe Bryant. You argue those guys, but those guys were good, but Michael Jordan's legendary, and it's hard to reach legendary status when your name is Michael Jordan. He is synonymous with professional basketball in the NBA. He put the Chicago Bulls on his back, put them on the map, and took them to a place where they had never gone to before in their franchise. Before Michael Jordan, this was a terrible Chicago Bulls basketball organization. They couldn't win basketball games in the season. They sucked in preseason. They had terrible players. And it weren't until they got Michael Jordan that all of this turned around and changed. Of course, they had a coach in Doug Collins who was great at defensive purposes. He made the Chicago Bulls a defensive powerhouse. This team was bigger. This team was stronger, and this team was faster, and they had lots of technical skills. They won basketball games with his coaching presence. They made it to the NBA playoffs. They won playoff series. But their playmaker was Michael Jordan, the chosen one, Michael Jordan. And by the time we got to the 1986 NBA season, he did something that only a few NBA rookies have ever done. The guy drops like a tear of what? I think 50 plus points on the Boston Celtics. He goes up against Larry Legend and Kevin McHale and those Boston Celtics legends. And this guy drops 50 plus points on this team. And to have Larry shake his head and go, unbelievable. Now, the series ended in 6 games. That's how intense and how competitive that was. And it wouldn't be the last time that Michael would face Larry Legend and those Celtics. Sometime later in 1987, Michael Jordan would face them again. And this time they would actually beat the Celtics. Because at that point, Larry Bird was injured. Kevin McHale was injured. Team was struggling defensive and offensive wise. And then, of course, we look at 1987, 88, 89, and 90. For the next 4 to 5 years, Michael Jordan has a team in the East that he must contend with. And that is Isaiah Thomas and those bad boy Detroit Pistons. Remember that classic television commercial of Lambeer with his hands like this, with that evil smile, and do this at the camera and wink? Every time Michael Jordan go up for a slam dunk, somebody take their elbow and go bow to Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan would get pissed off. Every time Michael got the ball, it was hit Michael upside his head, hit Michael in the stomach, hit Michael in the rib cage. And Michael went off and said, I had enough of this shit. Michael scored 35, 45 points a game, and the Pistons would always beat Michael Jordan in 5 games. Every time Michael got to the second round or the third round, he ran into the Detroit Pistons. They took some handcuffs out, and they restrained Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan was frustrated by this. And it weren't until Phil Jackson decided it was his turn to be coach. Doug Collins left and Phil Jackson became their coach. They got Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant. We had Bill Paxton. And there goes our Chicago Bulls supporting cast of the early 1980s, early 1990s. And this team was primed for a championship. And finally, in 1991, Michael breezes, well, I won't say breeze, but in the first round, he has a physical matchup with the New York Knicks. Second round, takes care of those Pacers. Third round, does away with the Detroit Pistons and goes to a place that team ain't never gone to before. The 1991 NBA Finals. It's the Magic Man versus Air Jordan. Magic Johnson versus Michael Jordan. One of the greatest NBA matchups of all times. Think of matchups like Ali versus Frazier, Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker, Goku versus Vegeta, Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson. It's on those titanic proportions. Something that people thought would never happen, it happened. Of course, the Lakers win game 1 against the Chicago Bulls. Michael blows a shot, smiles. Lakers take game 1. But then Michael comes back and has one of the greatest comebacks in game 2. Michael responds in game 2 with 35 points, 5 to 10 rebounds, 7 assists with 5 steals, and goes up against 2 or 3 defenders and switches the basketball from the right hand to his left in midair and scores on both these men. And all Magic Johnson can do is just sit there and go, damn, Michael Jordan, damn. Game 3, you bet your ass that the Bulls win back-to-back games. Game 4, the Lakers come back with a vengeance. And then game 5, Michael just can't help himself. I got to dominate. And game 6, Michael beats the Lakers definitively, as we see a old and aging Magic Johnson look into the eyes of Michael Jordan and say, you're going to become the greatest basketball player to play this game. As they hug each other in mutual respect, we see that legendary picture of Michael crying with the Larry O'Brien trophy, and crying because it took this much effort to win his first NBA championship. And then a year later, he goes against Clyde, the man Drexel. And we know how that series starts. The Bulls win the first game. Portland trying to tie it up, which they successfully do. And then Michael takes games 3 and 4. Portland come back and take 5. And then Michael finishes out in 6 and beats Portland. Now, Clyde in this series matched Michael Jordan's numbers. Problem was, Portland underestimated Michael Jordan. I mean, if you really look at that second NBA Finals, Portland had the championship won. Problem was, they weren't expecting Michael Jordan to be scoring 35, 45 points in all these playoff games and to play over 45 minutes. And when you see this, you're shocked. And of course, I don't have to tell you what happened in the 1993 NBA Finals. Michael Jordan does away with Charles Barkley and those Phoenix Suns. Wins 3 championships 3 years in a row. Now we get to why Michael Jordan was so great at winning 3 championships. Finally, we get to Clyde Drexel. He's in Portland. He has Sam Bowie, and we see it fall apart from there. Sam Bowie gets hurt 5 years in a row. Clyde spends 10 years in Portland. The guy's good. The problem was he just had all these players around him that just would fall apart. I mean, he would get hurt, but when you get a center and a center is always hurt, and here's Michael Jordan playing with no center, it's a shock. And then he wins an NBA championship, of course, and then it took him going to the Houston Rockets to get it. So I guess we could say that Michael Jordan was the better player. And I will come back and I will make 2 more videos of Michael Jordan. So this is just one video. Until then, peace.